We don't even have everything up. Boom, 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 boom. All right, there we are. Ready to go. Ready to go. Thanks for hanging out with me here on this Wednesday night. A night of low volatility. Likely going to be that way until we come on into tomorrow, baby. Sleep, I see you, brother. Sleep, I see you. I need a trade to get into. I'll tell you what, brother. I'll tell you this. Tonight's not the night. And here's why. If you just wait until tomorrow after we have all this macro news coming on in, man, it's going to present you a much better environment for trade setups and opportunities going on into the market, man. I just wanted to knock that out real quick, man. I just want to let you know, we're going to go over the hot setups. We're going to go over the prices that we're going to be looking for going on into tomorrow after this news does hit. We have about 6, 7, 8 different massive economic news is coming out tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mark the time on your calendar. And here's why I say not tonight, brother. If you're looking to get into a trade tonight and ride this into tomorrow, it's likely if you use anything on high leverage that you're going to get wicked out. I'm just trying to protect you on that. And because we have U.S. retail sales, initial jobless claims moves the market every Thursday. We know that U.S. retail sales, that's going to move the stock market. Bitcoin's been trading with the stock market, right? Just over history, it has, right? Especially this past year, it's been kind of crazy. We have core PPI, the measure of inflation with the perspective of sellers. That's going to give us some more inflation data that is going to hit Jerome Powell like a truck when he comes out and speaks just 10 minutes after that. That is the most expensive voice in the world, and the world, not just the U.S., the world will be tuning in to Fed Chairman Jerome Powell and listen to what he has to say. We have some massive news coming tomorrow, and you know, if you're looking for the hottest position tonight, I'm not saying there aren't some, right? And I'm not saying you could catch the pump or the dump that comes from this. This just throws a wrench in everything. It really does throw a wrench in everything. And right now, currently, I'm going to leverage long. I'm going to leverage long over here on Blowfin, on Sui. We're in from about 325. I haven't touched the trade. Letting this thing cook, baby, over the course of time. Likely going to stay open over the course of the bull run, up 66% from our legendary entry, baby. Legendary entry all the way, where is this? All the way down here at about 325, baby, 323. Got that massive move to the upside. Just consolidating before our next move. And I know what everybody's saying. I know what everybody's thinking. Oh my goodness, look at the head and shoulders. This could be the double top for Bitcoin. We're going to dive on into all that. I've been on X today. I've been on Twitter. I know what people are saying. It's absolutely crazy what's going on. And it's like a hive mind, isn't it? You see one person post a bearish thing and then the next person does. And then all the thumbnails start to match. And you're like, oh my goodness. It has to be a dump. There has to be a dump coming, right? But we're going to dive on into the charts and see what the charts have to say, baby. Hey, much love to you, Sleep. Thank you for being here, and thank you for jumping on in the chat, man. I just want to keep that on your radar. I want to keep that on your radar. Tomorrow's show is going to be a hot show for trade setups, because it's going to present opportunity after the market makers play their game tomorrow, and they'll play their game, and they're going to play it a lot at 8:30 a.m. on optimism and despair. Whatever the news comes out and hits, it's likely going to dump and pump or pump and dump. It happens almost every single time this man speaks, and just in and of themselves, right? But whenever you have core PPI, CPI, we saw this just 2 days ago. Look at the charts at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time just yesterday. Look at yesterday. We were dumping before the news. The news came in and liquidated so many shorts to the upside. It was absolutely crazy. So this is just something to keep in mind, brother. It's just something to keep in mind. Shout out to you. Thank you for being here. Shout out to everybody, all the chat, all the people in the chat that are here hanging out with me on this Wednesday night, baby. Wanda, Michaela, Sin Nasty Kid, April, MH, all of you guys. Thank you for your constant support. And we're looking okay. We expected a little bit of sideways consolidation / chop price action going into today, right? We did expect that. There could have been a breakout over the course of the last 24 hours, but there was not, right? Bitcoin pulled back throughout the course of today, and ever since we left each other, when did we leave each other? Yesterday, Tuesday, at about 19. Yeah, we've been kind of dumping ever since, slash going sideways, right? Right now, we're sitting above the 15-minute 200 MA for Bitcoin, looking pretty good. I am tracking this rounded top shape. But what I'm looking at here, right, is just kind of, I feel like this is trying to bait people. We're still above the 15-minute 200 MA, and those moving averages are curving to the upside, not just the 15, but the 21 as well. I think we at least visit the top of this pattern one more time before we get either the pump or the dump. This is, regardless of the way it breaks out, whether it's a double top or it does end up being in this this ascending triangle here, this is going to be a massive move, and this is going to be likely the next big move that comes on here for Bitcoin. And I think we go sideways throughout the night. I really don't think there's going to be a lot of volume liquidity that's going to be able to move the market with the massive amounts of money that are sitting on the sidelines and in Bitcoin, wondering whether they should ape in or they should get out based off of the news tomorrow, because that's going to give us a glimpse on the tariffs, right? How they've impacted us as a country. And the US-Chinese trade deal, although we got that announcement, do we know a lot about it? Not really. We really don't know a lot about it. So we're going to be standing, we could get a tweet from Trump or something like that, or something that kind of stimulates the market one way or another. But I think despite tweets, despite any trade war or anything, any kind of news like that, this amount of economic news comes once in a blue moon that smacks all at the same time. And 10 minutes after that, before Jerome Powell has any time to digest it, the reporters are going to get that knowledge and they're going to throw it at him like tomatoes up there on that stage. I can feel it, baby. We're going to be watching that tomorrow at 8:40 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very, very, very important time in the markets. And we're going to be looking for clues to see if Fed Chair Jerome Powell is going to start cutting rates sooner than expected. And when I say expected, I'm talking about October, December, January timeframe is where the rate cuts are looking to come in, despite us, the market's kind of pricing in 2 rate cuts by the end of the year. Those don't have to happen until the end of the year. And with the recent job data that we got, adding double the amount of U.S. non-farm payroll jobs last Friday, that gives Jerome Powell ammo, baby. That gives him a lot of ammo in order to start cutting rates to bring that unemployment rate back down, right? Because that's the Fed's job, to manage unemployment rate and the inflation that we have going on with our dollar. Much love, everybody. Much love. You misspoke about Jasmine yesterday. May 8th, not April 25th. Clarify. Hey, much love, brother. Much love. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jasmine's been on a tear. And looking at bubbles, honestly, on the day, not looking so hot for crypto, right? And man, something was giving me a feeling. Did we not say this yesterday? I was like, Pi Network, man. Like, just something about the coin, something about the project gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't know. And I can't say that this thing isn't going to do some massive damage. I can't speak ill of something that has a $6.83 billion market cap, but something gives me the sustenance, the suspiciousness of the network. There's only about 7% of the supply that's out. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. All right, so obviously a red day for crypto, as Bitcoin did pull back from about 105.5 down to about 103.5. I think we went to 102.5 today, did we not? Yeah, on this wick, down to about 102.5 since getting back above the 15-minute 200 MA, and the moving averages are very tight. That's telling me that there's likely a big move coming very, very soon here for Bitcoin, potentially heading in to the trading session for the Asians, right? The Asian trading session, right? The Asian trading session coming in around 8 o'clock, right? 8 o'clock tonight, my time. So very, or Central Time, right? So very important looking at the Asian markets going on into the night. However, I think it's going to be absolutely lackluster. We may get some chop price action, may visit support and start pumping out. I think tomorrow I honestly think tomorrow we end up with, for Bitcoin anyway, somewhere in this region between 103,000, 103,500. I don't think we're going to get much of a move tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Just a lot of low volume in the market. Can that lead to squeezes? Absolutely. But I think at the end of the day, I think the stock market's going to open where it closed today. And I think Bitcoin, at the end of the day, I think tomorrow when US opens, I think we end up right around here, about that $103,000 level. I don't think we'll be exiting this pattern tonight. Just my projections. Isn't rule of law. Just my projections, baby. Just my projections. I do see this ascending triangle forming here on the 1 hour time frame. We've hit this resistance over and over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 times already. How many times do we have to hit that door with the police battering ram, baby, before it breaks down and we could rip to the upside? And of course there's going to be sellers up here, right? This is essentially the most expensive Bitcoin has ever been up here at these prices. So for the people that want to offload and want to protect against that double top scenario, of course they're going to be opening up shorts and they're going to be selling in this range, right? I don't blame anybody for taking profit. We have to understand that there are people that got into Bitcoin at 100, at 1,000, at $10,000. Where you 10x, 100x, 1000x your money. Can you blame anybody for wanting to take some profits? I definitely can't. So, you know, I understand that there's going to be some sell pressure here. Zooming out on this range, right, the VRVP, we're looking okay. We're sitting between these two massive volume nodes right now. Right now, we're beneath the point of control. I do acknowledge that. The point of control being at 103,860. I would love to see us pump above and stay above that going on in the New York Open. That would give me a lot of confidence for some good news potentially breaking us up out of this flag. But the news is definitely going to be what do you call them, red herrings, right? Like just an event that you cannot predict, right? Or an event that, like, even though the economists are coming up with their expectations here, I want to take these with a grain of salt, ladies and gentlemen. They got it 50% wrong on U.S. non-farm payroll. I can't imagine that being like, it's like being a weatherman and just guessing. It's going to rain today, and then it's a super sunny day outside, right? Oh, it's not going to rain today, and then there's massive thunderstorms, right? That's the reality here in Texas. Man, I went on a run today. It was like 100 degrees outside, and I went on it was almost 3 miles, and there's that nap from yesterday. It was almost 3 miles. I'll tell you what, I got to 1.5 miles, my halfway point, and I started on my way back, and most of it's downhill, right, to get to my halfway point, so I'm uphill trugging on the way back. I saw like 10 different outside workers, like gardeners and everything, and they were all hanging out under trees with their shovels just at different properties, and I'm the only one out there running in the Texas. I was sweating, man. I got inside. I laid down on the floor with my pool table. My dog started coming to lick me because she likes to taste the sweat. Shout out to you guys if you're into that kind of kinky stuff. What's up? But yeah, not with the dogs, but man, I'm telling you, like the sweat licking, the dogs love to do it, man. The dogs love to do it. All right, so Bitcoin, baby. Bitcoin in this ascending triangle, looking okay. I think we go sideways throughout the night. I know that's not what everybody wants to hear. I think that's the more likely scenario than not. I'd like to see this 15-minute 200 MA hold throughout, throughout the night, preferably, right? And we slowly trend upward as these moving averages do start to bend. That's my opinion. That's where I think we're going. I do acknowledge that we have overbought stochastics on the 15, but on the higher time frames, right? The 2 hour says, hey, we're oversold and we're ready to go out of this flag. Very, very interesting. The higher time frames are saying, hey, we may be ready to start curving here. The 2 hour definitely saying, yeah, boys, crypto, this is the time we're about to rip towards the upside. So I think they're very, very likely we just ping pong throughout the night, the range between 103 and 103.8. I don't think we get out of there, and potentially we could, but that's just my projection going on into the night. Going on out to the daily, there's only been about 2 weeks of time, right? Not even that, less than 2 weeks of time that Bitcoin has traded in this range. And I'm just talking about candle body closures, right? So there's only been about 2 weeks of time, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, maybe a little more than that. Yeah, about 14 days of time that Bitcoin has traded up at these prices. We're getting to the point where if this cracks, right? Flip this upside down. If this cracks, right, if we're looking at a short right here, right, on this chart right here, we would be like, wow, if this thing cracks, you're likely to get a massive dump to the downside, right? You're praying that this support or resistance holds if you are a bear. And if this thing cracks, I think the blue skies breakout we see for Bitcoin is going to be like Donald Trump said, like, unlike anything we've ever seen before. It's going to be the biggest. It's going to be the greatest, right? I saw a post today. Somebody said, they tweeted at me. They said, what'd they say? They said, oh, so all the cars need to be made here in America, but Air Force One gets to be made in Qatar. And I was just like, dude, that's trolling, man. I thought that was so funny. All right, let's dive on into the chat, baby. Yeah, that's Bitcoin in a nutshell. We're trading up here. We're back inside this range that we've been forming here, right? We had this range before. We ranged up in this area before from around the January 19th to the 25th. I think we stay in this range at least until we get some kind of catalyst. That catalyst could potentially be tomorrow, baby, that U.S. economic calendar. Oh, my gosh. gosh, 8:30 is going to be beefy, baby. 8:30 is going to be beefy for you guys, right? Set your calendars, man. Set your calendars, or set your alarms, and make sure you're paying attention to at least I would say you'd have to be looking at the charts at this time, and watch the. It's a good time to observe. Watch the wicks. Watch how the whales go after the longs and the shorts, because what's going to happen? Everybody's going to get on their leverage exchanges tomorrow, and people are going to open up, oh, I'll go 100x long, and I'll go 100x short, and I'm going to bet on good data and bad data, and the price is going to go one way, and I'm going to make millions of dollars on this imaginary internet money. I'm going to do it. It's going to be awesome. And it's not going to happen. They're going to take it both ways, and then they're going to rip it in some direction. Very, very cool time to observe price action. And honestly, what I would recommend doing is be like, hey, if I was going to put in a trade right here, what would I do? And set that trade right on your chart. You can do that over here on TradingView, over here with the trade on the side, right? Set a long, set a stop loss, and set a take profit, right? On the 1 minute or the 5 minute time frame, and see if it gets hit. And the reason I'm going to say that, right? The reason I'm saying that right at that time is it'll just show you how close your stop loss comes to getting hit, and how crazy whipsaw price action the charts get. And more than likely, you will get stopped out. You will get stopped out on that trade on the 1 or the 5 minute time frame. It's very, very likely. I'm just saying, everybody, just keep that caution on your mind as we go on into a day tomorrow that is going to be packed full of economic data. All right, Andrew Grisson, what's up, brother? Thank you for jumping on in the chat. Hey, what's going on? Sleep, you need to change the profile picture. It looks like a ghost texting. Who did that before? Someone else did that. I think it was... It might have been, no, it wasn't Sleep. Was it MH? I don't remember. Somebody was completely blacked out before. And I was like, man, I can't see your chats as they go because my screen's black, right? So I just kind of see a blank right there. So yeah, that's funny, man. That's funny. That's just something I reminded of. All right, everybody, we're gonna hop on into the altcoins in the chat. Drop your coins. What do you guys want to hop into? What do you guys want to see? What do you guys want to go over going on into the night? This show's so cool because you guys pretty much run it, right? You guys can pretty much run it. I'm gonna go over the hot coins that I think are in the space, right? Drop your coins in the chat. I'm gonna go over Ethereum, and I'm gonna go over Sui Ethereum because it's made a monumental move to the upside. And if you're an altcoin holder, you have to care about what Ethereum is doing, because historically Ethereum has led all the prior altcoin runs to the upside, all the alt seasons. Ethereum historically, with the exception, I don't even see the exception in November, but yeah, Ethereum has historically led it. So let's look at Ethereum. Let's look at Ethereum here, looking honestly pretty juicy in my opinion. And I had this level marked on my chart, and here's why. Right, let's look at it on the 1 hour. So this is a beautiful, to me, support resistance flip. We got above this resistance level, served the resistance once, twice, got above that level and come back down for that beautiful retest. That retest is beautiful. You could put that level at 25.7, as Taz would say. But 2578, baby. 2578, $2,578 is going to be your nearest level of support here for Ethereum. Why? Because resistance, and now it is support. Prior resistance loves to become future support. And it works the same the other way, right? If we flip this upside down, support, you know, you come back above, that's resistance, and you're likely to continue to the downside. This is like your likely area for your next lower high, in my opinion. And I know what a lot of people are thinking, but boys, crypto, we didn't come down to a 618. Ethereum's going to be a little different here, in my opinion. You got close. You got a little bit front ran there. Ethereum, to me, is going to be a little different this cycle, right? Because Ethereum has been sold off so heavily. I think when FOMO starts funneling back into these altcoins, people are going to realize how undervalued Ethereum is. And I think that's what's going to carry it back up to that $3,000 level. I see a point of control retest here coming for Ethereum, provided we could get above the daily 200 SMA, which is currently serving as our resistance. We talk about this day in and day out on the channel, baby. This magical red line. This is the magic red line that tells me whether we are bullish or bearish on an asset. And despite the run that Ethereum did have, we ran into the 200 MA on the daily like a truck, baby, like a truck, and we were stopped in our tracks. So this is a key area for Ethereum. Not only have you gotten above this previous area, right? Support, 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 support. Now that's going to be your nearest support level right here. Also the level that you're sitting right above. Notice how this area served as support, support. So you're squeezed tight right now on Ethereum based off this daily candle. And the 1 hour time frame is showing that as well as we begin to flatten out here. I think Ethereum is getting ready for a monstrous move in one way or the other. And I'll show you. Right, so we have this rejection from the daily 200 MA. You get rejected and you close a couple candles beneath here, and that could get very dangerous in the near term, right? Because you could be looking at a potential cup and handle, and for people that are following in long here, there is a great opportunity, I acknowledge, for the whales to squeeze all that long leverage that built in all the way up through this 3-day historic 50% run for Ethereum. This run was absolutely massive. Now, on the bullish side, right, that was 41% 3 days, absolutely crazy, and pumped higher. But I gotta say this, let's zoom on out here. I gotta say this is so important. We talk about the ball rolling down the hill scenario all the time, right? All the time. This is our ball. You get to the top of a hill, and what happens? Well, either the ball is going to start rolling back down the hill, or you're going to what do you do? Peep over the other side, peep over, and start rolling down this hill, and you're going to come up and get stopped in this trough. I think this, to me, shows areas of likely areas where Ethereum can massively squeeze. Look at this down here. We had this node right here. We got the ball rolling down the hill scenario. The ball rolled off the hill. I don't know if you guys can see that, can you? Oh, yeah, you can. All right, so you got the ball, you roll off the hill, and you came up this next trough. Had a little bit of resistance on that daily candle, and then you got over and you rolled to the next one. That's the ball rolling down the hill scenario, and you could use the VRVP. It's such a powerful tool. It's such a powerful tool, and now we're getting up to this peak right here. We're getting up to this peak. The RSI is really cooked to the upside, but during alt season, you're going to see overbought RSI pretty much the whole time. Like, you'll see this dip down in the fair value and then back up. This is the kind of action you're going to see here on the RSI in incredibly bullish environments. Go back to November. Look at this. Look at this. Ethereum was up here forever. For an entire month, we were overbought on the daily RSI. Look at this. That is what you're going to see during parabolic price action. You are going to get that overbought scenario on the RSI. The stochastics are going to come up here and get pinned. And when there's going to be people that say, oh, it has to come down. It has to come down. Nothing has to happen here in trading. And during incredibly bullish rallies, you can go back and look at Bitcoin's parabolic runs. You get overbought. You get severely overbought, and you'll stay there. And you'll stay there until bearishness starts kicking into the market. And boy, oh boy, when it happens, the cookie crumbles, baby. The cookie crumbles and catches a lot of those late longs. So yes, being overbought on the RSI, is it a sign of concern? Sure, you could view it as that, or you could view it as, hey, this is just the beginning of that month-long consolidation that we're going to get here, or 2-month-long consolidation we're going to get in the overbought area before we start coming down to the downside. It's happened before. It'll happen again for Ethereum. So, and look at this. This massive gap in the VRVP tells me that the move from 2,600 to 3,300 will likely happen, to me, in my eyes, in just a few days. You get over this high right here. Not even that. You start getting over this high volume node. And the 200 MA, you close a candle above the 200 MA, I think Ethereum squeezes another 27% without much of resistance at all. And I have proof here. What is the reason for this gap? I know a lot of you guys that have watched the channel know, but the reason for this gap right here is because we just had, not too long ago, remember February 3rd, this was the biggest liquidation event in crypto history. Liquidations, not people selling, people getting stopped out and liquidated to the downside. Wasn't necessarily people saying, hey, I want to get rid of my Ethereum at this price, at this price, at this price. It was, okay, I'm cutting off my long trade at this price, at this price, at this price. And those capitulations started rolling over into each other, right? Those liquidations, cascading liquidations in the space, got this massive rollover to the downside. And Ethereum never recovered from that. And notice just how this candle right here represents the deepest area on the VRVP because of that severe squeeze to the downside. And just as short squeeze, or as long squeezes happen, right? The bulls get squeezed, the shorts could get squeezed. That's what a lot of people like to talk about. A short squeeze. A short squeeze. We just had one right here that took out the last couple positive months of price action with this gap. Look at the gap right here. We're currently consolidating at the high volume node. We get above this high volume node and close above the daily 200 SMA. In my opinion, we're gapping up again, and we'll gap up real quick. And then everybody's going to be talking about all-time highs are coming for Ethereum right now in this moment, in this instant. It's going to happen within 2 weeks. It's crazy. And all the people who have been waiting for a pullback will have been left on the sidelines, right? There were 2 months. Let us not forget that we had 2 months, 3 months to accumulate down in these prices here. And those times have came, they stayed for a while, and then went immediately. They got, you squeezed months of price action, right? So all the shorts that are sitting up here have a difficult choice to make. They could either A, close their position, and closing their short does the same thing as stopping or liquidating a short. You're going to get that pump to the upside because the exchange has to buy that Ethereum back. Very, very interesting. Also, Donald Trump, World Liberty Fi, continually adding Ethereum on the daily, all the way down in these ranges too. What a legendary buy there, raking in millions in profit from that move. All right, let's dive on into the chat, baby. We got some altcoins rolling in. We got some altcoins rolling on into the space. Let's talk about Peanut. Peanut, baby. Peanut, one of the hottest memes. This was, what was the name of the squirrel, man? Was it Peanut? It was, I don't know. I think it was Peanut. It had to have been Peanut, right? Why would it gain attention like that? So for those of you guys that don't know, there was some squirrel that was killed in a police raid in New York. And I don't know the full story, but that's about the extent that I know. And then they made this crypto about Peanut the squirrel, and Peanut the squirrel went absolutely crazy on Pump.fun and Dex Screener, and this thing got released. And it never looked back. This thing's been a massive mover to the upside. Okay, I want to say never look back, but you can see the move that this thing got just over the course of a couple of days. Look at this. In about 7 days, and you had a 464%. That's FOMO right there. That's FOMO, and that's crazy. And you're not going to see moves like that in Bitcoin. You're not going to see a 500% move in 5 days on Ethereum or XRP or anything like that. You're not going to. The only places you're going to find these moves is in the meme coin market, and that's exactly what Peanut is, right? A meme coin. So these coins have been massively sold off. I'm talking about Peanut. I'm talking about Chill Guy. I'm talking about really any other meme that you could think of. And, you know, they did something that I think the world really didn't expect. Got above that daily 200, retested it, and went on a journey that, no one expected the meme coins to do this. That's massive squeeze to the upside. The narrative kind of died with that Trump coin release, did it not? Losing a lot of people money, Trump coin, right? And people did make money, and you guys know how I feel about the meme coins. Man, I got to get the Capri Sun going already. Oh. Shout out to my sponsor, Capri Sun. Shout out to you guys making these protein Capri Suns, guys, right after those 100 degree heat Texas runs. Capri Sun is always there for you. They come in a nice little box. It's not a cheap drink. It's a manly adult beverage. Regardless of what the bartender tells you when you're out with your lady and you ask for a Capri Sun when you're at the dinosaur museum, when you go on a nice date with her and you ask, hey, do you have any Capri Suns in stock? And they just look at you like crazy. They should be stocked. They should be stocked in every bar across this nation. Capri Sun, shout out to you. I'm just kidding. They're not my sponsor, but Capri Sun, if you're watching, baby, I am all ears. I am all ears. Oh, yeah. The strawberry kiwi, every other flavor suffers in comparison. I'm telling you guys. All right. Peanut looking good. So what I will say about Peanut, and I'm just kind of playing with the lines right here. I haven't messed with Peanut in the last couple of days. I haven't really looked at it. I think we looked at it the other night on the stream. So you were in this ascending channel, right? And then you kind of felt at a downside. This was a beautiful bull pennant that was forming. And, a little bit of bearish div did knock you down to the downside. Now, what I would be interested in, right, is this a Fibonacci retrace from this move right here? So you did come down to almost the 886, get that retrace in here. And you're getting the bounce off that level. The 786 based off the candle body closures, that looks okay. I won't want to see a lower low created here, right, for Peanut, because then it kind of changes the market structure. You higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. You don't want to really see a lower low kind of come in there, especially with the 21 curving. Let's see what we're looking at on the smaller time frames. So for those of you guys who watch this channel, you guys know all about the game of 200 MA dominoes, baby. 200 MA dominoes. You break one, you're likely to come and visit the next. Let's see where we're sitting for Peanut. So Peanut just broke the 30-minute 200 SMA, and this may, and I'm not saying it's potentially a bear flag forming here, a bear flag forming on Peanut to the downside. And you know, this is like a lot of the altcoins are looking like this, are they not? Right, this bear flag showing to the downside looks very likely for Peanut. I'm not bearish on the asset as of yet. I'd want to see one of these higher term time frame 200 MAs start to crack, but just like when you see massive dumps, the reason this 200 MA is so far away is because of the massive move that Peanut had. Like, look at the space in between these. The 30 sitting here. The 30 sitting here. Where's the hour sit? Down here. This represents about a 25% move just to get to your next, or 20% move just to get to your next 200 MA. That does give me a little concern. However, you had the 618786 of this prior low, and that looks okay. Did you make a higher high there? It's an equal high. So I imagine that Peanut, right, and a lot of the other memes kind of follow Bitcoin's lead right here and ranges throughout tomorrow. Like, tomorrow's going to be everything, everybody. Tomorrow's going to be everything. If tomorrow a little bit of a, you know, resistance got above support flip right there, and you got some support underneath you, that's likely a bullish order block right here. The high volume node sitting just beneath you, that's looking okay. But yeah, the data that comes out tomorrow is going to move this market. Not just Bitcoin, but Peanut's going to move with the data. Like, honestly, look at crypto bubbles, right? Bitcoin had a rough day, so the majority of your altcoins had a rough day. Bitcoin had a good 5 minutes, so the majority of your altcoins had a good 5 minutes. We have to understand that Bitcoin is still the leader in this market, despite it being altcoin season, in my opinion. All right. Yeah, baby. Yeah. That's okay, Sleep. I got you, man. Privacy and everything. You're a legend. All right. Yeah. So Peanut looks good. It looks really, really good. You know, I would be cautious on that bearish div that you did form here. As you can see right here, you have higher highs being formed. Let me get rid of this. You have higher highs being formed, right? Higher high, higher high, higher high. Lower highs being formed on the 4-hour time frame. And there's a lot of altcoins that are showing this right now, and that is likely the reason for the pullback, in addition to Bitcoin kind of struggling over the past 24 hours. So with that being said, the stochastics are reset. How you looking on the daily? The daily kind of coming down. So I think we just go sideways until tomorrow, even on this asset. I don't see a massive dump coming. Now, if Bitcoin does decide to take a little bit of a dip to 100K and you start cracking this level, you could start getting some liquidations, because you have to imagine in the past 2 days, where are people going to put their stop losses, right? Where are people going to put their stop losses right here? They're going to put it beneath the recent low. They're likely going to put it right here. That's what a lot of retail traders do. Stop below the low on the flag, and they'll go for a stop hunt. Stop hunt, come to a macro 618786 from the swing low to the swing high. The 786 sits where? Just beneath that level, right? Not too far beneath that level, and then you'll get that reaction to the upside. A beautiful 618 retracement. It would take out this low right here, take out all those late longs, and then allow you to continue to the upside. If I was a whale, that's how I'd play it, baby. That's exactly how I'd play it for Peanut. I do think this thing can squeeze. Looking at it on the weekly, it has a lot more room to squeeze to the upside. All these shorts that are layered in here are put at massive risk right now. And that's crazy, right? Like, if you were in that decision, do I close my short right now? Well, you just lost out on about 50% of your profit off of this candle right here. And now you're wondering, like, should I close my short? And you run the risk of this thing squeezing the upside and liquidating you. And that can happen very, very quick on Peanut. I think Peanut's a pretty, there's going to be one or two meme coins that I think crack into the top 100 that aren't there yet. I think a lot of memes are going to revisit their highs. Do I think Peanut's going to revisit his highs? No, I don't. I think this is going to be like I honestly don't think Peanut's going to revisit the highs. Just my opinion, though. Anything can happen here in crypto, and if Peanut is that one or two projects that does go and revisit the highs, you can get this thing at 40 cents right now. If you really believe in the project and the white paper supports your thesis, then this thing could do some massive damage to the upside. But from my perspective, it's just a meme coin. I think the hype will die. I think that this thing just rallied off the lows due to a massive short squeeze. I don't see the demand with it anymore. Right? There's no news that's really pumping that. That's what drove this move. That massive news narrative, right? That news narrative off of Peanut. Peanut the squirrel just got killed, and then everybody got on deck screener and saw this thing pumping like 20 million thousand %. And then everybody wanted to ape in, and then that cookie crumbled, right? And then you had that massive wicks saw price action, blow off top candle, and then you went into the bear market. Ever since it's honestly, ever since the release here on TradingView back here in November on Binance anyway, ever since the Binance listing. So very, very interesting. I think these things will squeeze. I think they'll squeeze hard, and I think they have the potential to squeeze hard. However, I do not think that these coins will be revisiting their highs. Just my opinion, though. I could be totally wrong. I don't think Chill Guy's revisiting the highs. I don't think like maybe some of the big OG ones like Dogecoin, like Whiff, like Floki. Pepe did amazing this week, right? I'm not saying the memes can't do well. However, revisiting the highs, I don't know. You got to understand, like, how many people own this asset, right? Like, how many? Or I bet we can find that here. Where's Dex Screener at? Hey, shout out to you, Nasty. Thanks for dropping this on our radar, man. I just want to do a little quick peek at this. So, Dex Screener, for those of you guys who don't know anything not listed on TradingView, can get viewed over here on Dex Screener. Peanut the Squirrel, $392 million market cap. Let's look at the holders here. Yeah, so this is what happens for a lot of the meme coins, right? Okay, so there's a locked amount. There's a locked amount. This is Peanut on Sol. Peanut, yeah, on Solana. All right. So same price and everything over here on TradingView, same asset, right? So here's what concerns me. This person right here. Somebody has 40.85% of the supply. That gives me concern. And you know what's cool about something on Sol? And I don't think we've done this with Peanut yet. Let's put this into the, and I'm not hating on Peanut. I'm just saying that anything like this gives me concern. This is my concern about XRP, right? Somebody owns, 48% of it, right? And it's their ledger, right? But at the end of the day, that company owns over half the asset. That's what gives me concern. Liquidity, Ethereum being an infinite supply, that gives me concern. So a lot of my coins, honestly, right now in my altcoin bag are speculative, and they don't have, they have a clear unlock schedule. That I understand where the tokens are going. I understand when they're getting released. But some individual, whoever created Peanut, owns 40.85% of the supply, and then you got 855, and then let's see others. This is the public right here. This is a non-insider, 11% distributed about throughout the public, $43.2 million. That's outside of the 88% that are in the top 40. There's 40 people that own 88% of this token. So their ability to manipulate price is relatively high, and they're all millionaires. The guy at the top owns 48.85 at 160 mil. Very interesting. So you got to wonder, when is this guy going to cut? I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. I think these alts can massively squeeze to the upside off of the short interest that they do have right now in the charts. That's based off of the last 3 months of price action. Shout out to Peanut the Squirrel, and shout out to Sid Nasty Kid, man. Always being here, always hanging out with me on the live. I appreciate you, brother. Much love. I hope everything's going good for you and your family. I hope you got your shirt. Maybe you got your shirt. Your shirt's on the way. Your shirt's on the way. But much love, brother. Much love. Thank you for shouting out Peanut, baby. Peanut. All right. And I'm not throwing hate at the coin. It's just my belief with the meme coins, man. I just have I have such a tough time, right? And here's why, right? I'm not gonna go on the meme rant. I know you guys love that. I know you guys love when I rant on memes, but I have such a hard time with this. The meme market, you could argue, died, when Trump coin got released, right? Like this thing, it sucked. This is when the memes really started to crash hard back here in January. Why? Because everybody wanted to be in the next hottest, newest meme, which was the Trump coin, right? The one that was supported by the president. And then that got rugged, right? In my opinion, this is essentially like a rug, right? Everybody kind of filtered out. I'd love to see the team's wallet to make sure that they didn't sell, but I don't have access to that. Interesting. But yeah, very, very crazy. And then after that, when you do a liquidity run like that, what's the next big cool idea? Oh, well, the first lady could do the same thing. It's different. Melania coin, she has her hands there in a prayer thing with her smile. And then it got rugged. It got rugged to nothing, right? Got released on a centralized exchange, got the mass public in, rug, right? This same wallet, the same exact wallet that did media, the Melania Libra did the same exact thing. Rug pull based off of the, backed by the president of Argentina, who's being brought up on fraud charges for this. Rug, right? Like he rugged his citizens. And that same creator did it twice. And they're not being held accountable, right? But like, can you do this? Yeah, you can, right? Like, I mean, you kind of can, because now the SEC classify these things as collectibles. They're collectibles, right? If the value of your Pokemon card goes to nothing, like, are you going to be able to point the finger at anybody? Not really. Like, if somebody makes a bunch of more of those same cards, it's an interesting thought. Interesting thought. But that's why I don't really jump on the meme wagon. It's not an egg in my basket. Are they tradable? Oh, yeah, they're tradable, baby. Yes, they are tradable, but not something in my long-term portfolio. Peanut looks okay. I think it's going to do, as a higher cap meme coin, I think it's going to do what the rest of the market's going to do, and that's go sideways with Bitcoin here between $103,000 and $108,000 throughout the course of the night. I hope this 200 MA holds on the 15. That is for sure. But yeah, interesting. I think tomorrow, Thursday, is going to be the biggest. Oh, man, the big move, baby. Big move. When is Trump coming out with a new coin? That is speculation. Here, I'll show you. I think, all right, yeah. Oh, interesting. Yesterday, denies, says no. Yeah, so this was, yeah, okay, interesting. Yeah, so that's another thing in the meme space, right? Me, scammers, people saying stuff. Truth Social launching a meme coin, false information, World Liberty Fi denies it. Interesting, right? That was just based off of rumors, right? That was all I was seeing on X, people posting, and I was like, oh, maybe, like, there were people posting, hey, the next couple days, Truth Social is likely to have your money in this wallet or that wallet, or your coins in this space so you could get access to the coin. As you guys know, when these projects launch, you can't just buy them with USDT. You got to have, Solana, Radium, Ethereum, whatever network it's released on, to facilitate those purchases. So, yeah, I mean, I guess they're calling it. No, absolutely not. That was yesterday that information came out. Interesting. So, yeah, I don't know when they're coming out. I don't think they're coming out with a meme coin anymore. Based off of that, I'd do a little bit more of a deep dive into that, brother. A deep dive into that. But it was speculation, right? It was speculation, and I was hoping not. I was like, I hope not, right? Because Trump coin marked the top of Bitcoin. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope they don't launch anything like that. I don't like the idea of the president using the office to financially benefit. It made $2 billion in 48 hours. Anybody else have any ideas on how to make $2 billion in 48 hours? Share them with me in the chat, baby. And it's not doing feet pics on OnlyFans, right? Like, it's none of that kind of stuff, right? I got beautiful feet, but they're not going to make $2 billion in 48 hours. I'll have one subscriber, right? And Sin Nasty Kid, I'll send you the link, brother. But, he'll probably be my first subscriber, right, with the feet. But, no, I'm just playing. I like picking. But yeah, I promise you, these feet aren't making $2 billion in 48 hours. But a meme coin can. A meme coin, especially one that gets rugged, man. When you own 80% of the supply. And then the liquidity grab, man. They said, oh, if you were one of the top 200 holders, you'll be able to come to the White House and get a dinner with me. Boom to the upside, and then you had to pull out from underneath that to me, I'm not willing to play those games. No, absolutely not. This was the other day. Yeah, this was the announcement, right? It came off the bear market lows. The announcement pulled back massively. I don't know if this thing ever revisits the high. If something's gonna revisit the highs, this might be it. But you gotta ask yourself, if you're a long-term holder, what happens to this coin when Trump's out of office? Because this is his last term, right? Does it go to zero? Melania is dead. Melania will never come back. I will put my trader stamp on that. Never, right? And it's crazy how they never answered for that. Like, they never made a public statement to the public. The vast majority of people that invested in their meme coin never said a word. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right. Here we go, everybody. Here we go. Let's dive on into the chat. Wanda wants to look at Hyperliquid. And, Hyperliquid's an interesting project, Wanda. Focuses on the NFT space and has gotten some pumpage with the market over here. Look at this. This thing is doing massive damage. Back to $25. That looks absolutely juicy. I want to look at it. Not on a day. Let me look at it on the 3-day here. So this thing's gone on a massive rally. Since the lows, you're up about 167% on Hyperliquid. Does this thing have legs to go to the upside? It definitely does. Your next area of resistance sits right here, right? And we've been tapping it once, twice, 3 times. But after that, you have what? You have $29, and then you have the prior high with the wick. Those are your resistances that sit right above you, Wanda. With that being said, the odds of this chart continuing, to me, like going like this is relatively low. I don't think the chart will look like that. Could it? Sure. Anything could happen in crypto. You get a partnership. You get some kind of something, World Liberty Fi invest, something like that. Sure. Like you could get, where's my delete button? Sure, you could get a massive squeeze to the upside, but I'd be looking for these resistances. What I'd like to see for a trade scenario, right? What I'd like to see, because this, right, squeeze to the downside. All the longs that got in here got absolutely wrecked, right? Stop losses below these wicks got wrecked. Short squeeze or long squeeze to the downside. Tried to recover, invalidated divergence, created a divergence here on the 3-day. You see that as we have the swing across in price. While we have the swing down in price action, that eventually got you out of here, breaking that high before you crack this low. Woo, what is that button? Breaking this high before you crack, breaking this high before we crack this low. Swing down on price action, swing up. Looks really, really good, baby. Yeah, and that 3-day bullish divergence did play out. So right now, what I'd be looking for on Hyperliquid is a break of this resistance zone, right? And you could argue that this box right here. This resistance zone, wicks have come up in there multiple times, and it has been an area of massive interest here for Hyperliquid. If I was looking for a blue skies breakout on Hyperliquid, I'd have to be on the sidelines right now, right? Because the risk to the downside is relatively high. What I would look for on Hyperliquid is a break of this zone and then coming back into it. That would be the golden long opportunity, preferably maybe even getting a wick down here and then coming back above, solidifying this area as support, and then having your long set and having that level of support as a shield beneath your stop loss as the price rips to the upside is the most golden trading opportunity, in my opinion, that you can look for, Wanda. And guaranteed, or granted, this is on the, that was on the 3-day, but on the daily, you can see how important this range is. We wick up into it all the time. People taking profits in that zone. That's where Hyperliquid has sold off over and over and over again. And right here, you can see it on the VRVP. You have a high volume node sitting right where you are, and that's an area of interest as well. Resistance, 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 and now you're testing it as support. So you're in a tight range here for for Hyperliquid. Is the NFT space a space that I would be interested in parking a lot of my funds right now? I think the space has the potential to come back. However, it's not one of the winners I see this cycle. I think NFTs could do massive in the event, right? Certain events do happen, like a Pokemon partnership with Sui. But yeah, like if that happens and NFTs start roaring back into the space, I think this is going to be one of the leaders. The technology in Hyperliquid is absolutely massive. And an NFT run would be supported a lot better this time than on Ethereum and Solana. The gas fees were insane in 2021 when NFTs started first popping off, and Solana was hardly even around. I mean, it started its parabolic run, but a lot of skepticism on the asset, right? Of making a monumental run like that to the upside of 10x for Sol in 2021. That's crazy, right? That's crazy. But it wasn't, and it was able to facilitate NFTs, but I think Hyperliquid could do it a lot better and a lot cheaper than both of those assets, and I think this thing could do some massive damage in case the NFT space does take off. Shout out to you, Wanda. I appreciate you. We're back up to that high contention zone. You get over this high volume node right here, Wanda. You know how it goes. You get over that high volume node, you could start ripping to the upside very, very quickly, and if Hyperliquid does crack these highs, this wick right here, that could really signal a bigger move to the upside. And this is no small token. Where's Hyperliquid sit? Hyperliquid sits at number 17. This is a big, big deal. Only about 33% of the supply are out, but you have a billion hype. There's not going to be any more. You got the total and the max supply matching. Looks really, really good. I look at their release schedule. That'd be very interesting. And anytime you guys want to look over the news and stuff, you can come on over here. People's different trade ideas. I'm not saying to copy any of these guys. Absolutely not. Because these are just random people. But you can go over here and find all the news on your coin, right? This will all be about Hyperliquid, right? And then questions, things in the community. You'll always have those ads there because I don't pay for premium, because I'm a little cheap. But hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, everybody. All right. We have not gone over XRP sleep. I'll happily dive on into that for you, brother. We went over Hyperliquid. DAR had a 700% move today. I got you, sleep. I got you. DAR. What's DAR? DAR. Mines of Dalarnia. Wow. What a... Boy. Yeah, that I definitely... I don't know what prompted this. Is this that game that DaVinci J15 was talking about? DAR. Nope. AI-powered chain, gaming platform, Web3 development gaming. Interesting. Why up 700%? Yeah, I have no idea. Did it get released on Coinbase? And for these coins being delisted. Delisted from Coinbase. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about the project, Web3 gaming, but that was a massive squeeze to the upside, I'll tell you that. Yeah, and to me, the risk of getting on in that right now, oh my goodness. Like, even, look at the 5-minute chart. I'll show you guys. Like, these swings, look at these individual candles are going to be massive. 6% 5-minute candle. This candle right here, 5-minute candle, was an 8% candle in 5 minutes. You're going to get some insane volatility on the 1-minute time frame. You're going to have insane volatility. Like, just since, since we started the stream, this thing has swung 30 to 35% over the course of the stream. So that's very, very interesting to see. That's some major volatility. I wouldn't be touching that. I just couldn't. If you do, you have bigger balls than me. I'll tell you that. That's for sure. That's for sure, man. That would be a massive. If you caught some kind of move out of this, whether it be the upside or the downside, the potential, man, like the potential's insane on the 1-minute time frame right now. However, like you get above the 1-minute 200 SMA, and I'd be looking for continuation. I'd be in and out of this thing. This. I'd have to be in and out. I'd have to be in and out. And you'd almost want to look at the smaller time frame chart, vice the 1-minute, right? Because like even if you got in on a trade right here on the 1-minute. Like you could, you open up a long beneath the 200, put a stop beneath. Where do you put your stop? Beneath the 1-minute 200 SMA? Like on the 1-minute time frame, that'd be the kind of trade that you'd have to look for, out of a flag. You guys got to excuse me while I have like lung cancer. Hold on one second. Man, it's the Capri Sun. But yeah, baby. Yeah, it's 700% move in a day off of delisting. I've never heard of that. That's insane. Look at this. You pump more in a single day than you have over the past 2 years. That's insane price action. Out of a delisting, yeah, there's some liquidity. There has to be a liquidity issue in order for a price for something to do that quickly. I wonder what it is on. I don't even remember what the ticker was. Oh, DAR. DAR Open Network. Yeah. No, there's no way this is it. Hey, baby, what's up? Oh, God, thank you. I appreciate you. Got to get that cough drop in. Yeah. All right. Thank you, my lady. All right, everybody got to say thank you to April. She saved me. All right. Mine's a Dolaria. Yeah, doing some massive damage to the upside. And maybe this is on Coinbase. So is it even man. Oh my goodness, I gotta eat something. That's insane. All right, yeah, so mine's a Dolaria. Looks like a massive move to the upside. Oh my gosh, I was sweating. I was coughing so bad, guys. It was insane. That was insane. The vid going around, the COVID, right? When I was in the Navy and we had COVID, I was working in the engine spaces, right, on the ships. And it's like 120 degrees down there. It's super hot. And we had to wear a construction hat. You had to wear like the safety goggles, and then you had to wear a mask. And when the Navy first found out about COVID, they didn't have masks. So they had you use those brown t-shirts, those under t-shirts, and put them around your face. We looked like this guy. We looked like this guy here without the cowboy hat. What's his name? This guy. We look like this guy. Look, and a lot of guys like this is what you look like, right? Minus the cowboy hat, but imagine that being a construction hat. That's what we all looked like in the Navy. Every sailor looked like that. It was insane. Minus all the, this stuff. I didn't have a knife around my neck or anything. Would have been cool to be in a job that had like something cool, but my 6 years in the Navy, I shot a gun one time. One time. All right. So that's DAR, baby. Not a lot of price action to be able to go over here. Oh my gosh, this cough drop is awesome. Not a lot to go over in the charts here, but man, yeah, that's a monumental move, especially off of a delisting. Very, very interesting. That'd be something fun to track. All right, everybody. Yeah, I've never heard of DAR either. All right, yeah, no more meme coins for now. Yeah, MH, I couldn't agree with that statement more. Like pyramid schemes, yeah, a lot of them. Like, unless you're on the inside, and if you guys get on the inside, if one of you manages to get on the inside of a meme coin, and you don't let this community know, I'll flip a lid, baby. Let us in, baby. Let us in. And much like if I had it inside, the guys, I'm telling you, like what's a good phrase to use? Right? Like we're all like a pack, right? Like a pack of wolves. That'd be like a wolf going out and getting some big juicy mammoth, right? Big juicy mammoth and eating it all themselves. We'll keep it in this community. This community is relatively small, but man, we could all make some juicy gains. We could go to Vegas. It'd be a lot of fun. All right, here we go. Let's dive on into XRP. Where's your confidence? You can do anything if you put your mind to it. Yeah, Michaela B. Yeah, you're talking about my feet pics on OnlyFans. Michaela B. Yeah, if you see my feet, I'm telling you, they're like block feet. They're like your Minecraft character when you look down. That's what my feet look like. Not getting any attention, I promise you guys. All right, here we go. Whoop. If I stop licking dogs, that's how you get fur balls. Yeah, man. As you get some hair on the uvula. I feel you. All right, let's dive on into XRP. Sleep, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you diving on into the chat and shooting your coin out to us. All right, so I love the way XRP looks on the daily, and I'll show you why. Zooming on out here. Okay. XRP did something very, very important on the daily. We were consolidating between the point of control and the daily 200 SMA, right? The daily 200 SMA kept creeping up and up and up. You deviated beneath it for a singular day or 2 days, right? The 200 MA served as your support on the way up, right? And you started squeezing between this high volume node, this area, this cluster of high volume nodes right here, and the point of control in the 200 MA, and it got tight. And you got above that 200, you got above that VRVP while respecting the 200 MA. That is incredibly important for the XRP price. Let me get rid of this, man. Let me get rid of this. So point of control, what I want to see, and I've talked about this level on the channel for a long time. I said, I have to be a bear on XRP until we can reclaim the 242 level. And we did just that. All right. A lot of people were saying, hey, this thing's going to $10, $10,000, which won't happen. But it could do some massive damage to you. It's not going to go to $10,000. I go over that almost all the time. But this thing, not this cycle anyway, not this cycle. It had to be a super hyperinflation environment, just my opinion. But the risk to the downside was insane, bro. Like underneath that VRVP, look at these gaps. Look at these gaps that you had. Like the price action that has not been verified and tested on these levels based off of this parabolic move that you had back here in November was extraordinary, right? Was extraordinary. And that left, right? And this move likely being a lot of short squeezes that were left over from 2017. A lot of institutional buy pressure. I'm not arguing that. But you started consolidating up in this range and breaking below the daily 200 SMA. We didn't get a full candle body closed, but it was close. It was close. And that mass liquidation event, look at this back here. Oh my gosh, the fear that was in the space at that time. 167 for XRP, crazy. But you did something incredibly bullish for XRP, brother. You have the daily 21 and the 200 SMA curving to the upside, right? Getting really, really tight, really, really close. You get tight on those moving averages, right? You get tight on those moving averages, it tells you that a big move is likely to happen. So you're tight right now, and you're starting to get that fan out, that alligator mouth, if you will, right? If you're going to go on a parabolic move, this thing's going to start moving outward, and this thing's going to start trending upwards like this, right? And you're going to get that big, big movement like you had back here. Is that likely to happen? Well, a week ago was a different story, but now you have broken above. I want you to pay attention to this candle here. This candle right here with the giant wick to the downside, right? That bullish hammer right there. So you got above, and I'm just going to have the range up here so the high volume node stays the same, right? That point of control remains the same. You got above and retested that 242 level. That was your perfect level. That was your perfect level to long that point of control right there. Put a stop beneath the 200 MA, in my opinion. I think you could honestly potentially let that ride. Let that ride for the rest of the bull run. Do I think that XRP has no downside risk? No, we just went over that, right? Just the gaps in the VRVP are absolutely massive. However, now you have an additional layer of protection. The bulls proving, thank you, my lady. The bulls proving that they have been able to hold price above 242. That point of control was everything for this entire range for XRP. You notice when you're above, you stay above, right? You break below and you get some massive candles to the downside. This was the strategic news, strategic reserve news, absolutely crazy back in March, right? And then the China tariffs the day after sent the market in an absolute frenzy. And I did see that Ripple executives, is Brad Garlinghouse not the president anymore? Or no, he's not the president. He's the CEO. But is the president and the CEO someone different? I know the president and the CEO of Ripple is a lady. I don't know. I don't remember. But she went to the UAE today and yesterday. She's speaking to those leaders about like multi-trillion-dollar investments. That can be major for XRP and a big catalyst in the space. That can be something that brings you up to retest the highs. But right now, you retested that point of control, and to me, I see continuation further to the upside. I get that we've had a red candle today. It's bullish, bearish engulfing. I totally understand. But that point of control is strong. It's been strong on the bears side, and now that the bulls have reclaimed that, I see upside for XRP, and I think the highs are only a matter of time. What would be the area that I can't kind of keep on my radar as a potential area of resistance? Well, you got the 618. You got the 618. You do. The 618, 786. If a lower high is going to come in, it's likely to come in this zone. But being above the point of control and that being that close to the 618, 786, I think gives the 618 at least a lot less validity. I think a squeeze up here to test that area where the strategic reserve announcement got priced up to is very, very likely here for XRP here in the coming weeks. I think it's likely, but XRP, despite the move that it had back in November, is still going to respect, in my opinion, what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin moves up, XRP will move up. Bitcoin moves down, XRP will pull back. It is critical to me that Bitcoin remains where it is for a lot of these altcoins because just the data tomorrow is going to be insane, man. So what would my trade ideas be for XRP? Well, any revisit here to the point of control, I would be heavily interested in longing XRP. Where would I be interested in shorting? You could take that 786, but to me, it's a ballsy play with a community, the XRP army, which is one of the strongest communities in all of crypto. I wouldn't be looking to short this asset, not at this time. If you get up that 786, you could take what's called a hedge short, where you take a small amount of your money, put it on leverage, put the stop above the high, and then you're protected from that downside risk. I think that would be a wise decision, especially if you got in from XRP down here in the sub $1 region or 50-cent region. If you open up a head short there and it does cook down back to 50 cents, and I'm not saying it's going to, but if we did run into a bear market, you would reap those juicy profits the entire way to the downside as these gaps in the VRVP do get filled. However, I think the likelihood of that happening is relatively low. The bulls just reclaimed and retested the most key area that I was tracking on the chart for XRP. I see more upside for XRP here in the future. Where do I think XRP could go if it does crack this high? I'm tracking a 1.618 extension all the way up to about $5. 450 is my first target on the charts. And then 628 if we get some kind of announcement, something ridiculously bullish, like the US is buying or something like that. Actually buying, not just like strategic reserve, but buying. So I see that 1.618 and 2.618 being the likely targets once we crack these highs. That's all you got to go on, because this is going to be a blue skies breakout. This is a double top here from back in 2017. You crack that, I think some major FOMO is going to flood into the space, and you can get a massive squeeze to the upside for XRP, baby. Andrew Grissom wants to look at VeChain. Yeah, brother. Sleep. Thank you for the token request, brother. That's XRP on the 15-minute. Struggling a little bit like XRP or like BTC. A little bit stronger. Why? Or whoop. So yeah, look at this chart, right? We can go back and forth. Let me clear this out here. And this will be everything in the top 10. This will be everything in the top 10. Let me get these kind of similar right here. These moves are going to be like identical, right? From candle to candle, you get a red candle on Bitcoin, you're likely going to get a red candle on XRP. The percentages are going to be different. Very unlikely that XRP rallies as Bitcoin dumps. I don't think we see a move like back in November if Bitcoin starts dumping. If Bitcoin's got to remain sideways / be pumping for anything in the top 100 in order to continue doing very, very well, in my opinion. All right, everybody. Still in your long on XRP, holding strong. Don't short. I'm not going to be the guy that stands in front of a moving train. That's for sure. And yeah, being above that point of control, until you were to crack this, the only reason I would turn bearish right now on XRP, right, is if you crack that 242 level and retest it to the downside. That would be what I'd have to. And then you have the 200 MA still as support, which hasn't broken, arguably since the run, started back here in November. XRP looks strong. One of the stronger coins in the game. One of the more lackluster coins in the game the past couple of weeks. However, the last couple of days, XRP has definitely brought back a large majority of its market share. And you can see that here. XRP.D. Whenever you're looking at a coin and you want to see how well it's doing in the perspective of how's my coin doing compared to the market, XRP.D. Dominance, baby. Dominance. We're tracking this. Shoulder, head, right shoulder did not look good. And this was just a couple of days ago. And we were talking about this, potentially breaking down. The risk for XRP was relatively high. But we also said this. We said in the event that you defy this shoulder, head, right shoulder on XRP dominance and you get the bounce, these break down 68% of the time. Well, what happens that other 32% is that you catch all these shorts off guard. You get the squeeze and you get the rally to the upside when everybody was expecting a dump. Very interesting for XRP. I think this thing could do some massive damage. Shoulder, head, right shoulder, targets to the downside, match the upside on dominance from the neckline. I think you go and retest the high. I think you get at least close to, if not retesting the highs. Another area I did track on XRP was that 303 region. Why? Because on the charts here, as you zoom on out, this region right here, right, this high volume node is 312. 312. 312 is another high volume node, right? If you're going to play that ball rolling down the hill scenario, XRP's rolling off the hill. And where are you likely to start getting a little bit of resistance, P-stay resistance around that 308 to 312 region? That's what I'm tracking. Matches with the prior high, not touched once, but touched twice back in 2017. You crack that, you can go on a major rally for XRP, a major, major rally. Shout out to you, Nasty Kid in the long, brother. I think it's going to play out for you. And, of course, nothing's guaranteed in trading. And this channel is not financial advice, baby. It's just for entertainment purposes only. But XRP looks really juicy to continue to the upside. If you're interested in getting into a long and you want to play a FOMO run, right? Again, I would wait until tomorrow at like 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I give the market an hour to settle out and then start looking for trades, because just the wick saw we're going to see, regardless of what price does tonight, I promise you the wick saw is going to be insane tomorrow. Say your alarms for 8:30, but in the event that you drop to this high volume node, that'd be a beautiful long area with a stop below the 200 MA, regardless of the data you get tomorrow. And you could run that to the 1.618. That would be a beautiful trade risk-reward from a risk-reward ratio perspective. All the way up here to the 1.618. That'd be a 5-to-1. Looks so juicy to me, man. Looks so juicy. I think this thing can crank massively to the upside for XRP using that 200 MA as a shield, that high volume node as a shield. So you have two massive shields to the downside before your stop loss gets hit. Areas of proven support. And, you could argue this area right here. Support. Once you got above, reclaimed it, you could even bring that stop down just a little further and have that third layer of support. And that would still be a 4.84-to-1. Looks really juicy for XRP. But it'd only be that 4.84-to-1 if you waited for the high volume node you get in right now. And that's a 3.5-to-1, right? Still really good. So that's why I'm saying, like, if you're looking for like a FOMO trade, this to me would be it. All right, like if you're worried that XRP is going to go and crank the highs, we're going to get to a point in this alt season where we don't look back. And it's anybody's guess when we get to that point. So, yeah, very interesting for XRP, reclaiming the point of control on the daily. That's the best thing you could have asked for XRP to do with a beautiful retest. If this candle did not look like this, I would be saying, hey, let's wait for a retest of the high volume node. Let's wait for a retest. You'd have to wait for a retest, and you got it that day. Beautiful for XRP. All right, everybody, here we go. We like Matt being alive and well. Yeah, that's for sure. All right. Andrew Grisson, appreciate you diving on in the chat, brother. V-Chain, yeah, coming your way, man. Another top 100. Whoa. What? V-Chain. All right. So VeChain had a move, and a lot of the altcoins were looking like this. We were tracking this on a lot of altcoins just the last week or so. About a week ago, we were calling out these inverse shoulder, head and shoulders, and it was like candy in the market. It was like, man, something's brewing. Shoulder, head, right shoulder, pushing to the upside. So something that's interesting about VeChain right here, right? And for a lot of the altcoins, we haven't had a retest of this neckline. You broke out, you didn't quite get to target, but you know, the 200 MA sitting there, you have another high volume node sitting at about 32,569. So yeah, you're likely going to get some consolidation in here with resistance right above you. Where did you top out at here? So you topped out at this area that has served as resistance before. Support, resistance. You know, resistance. Is it going to be, is it like, oh my goodness, we're going lower? I don't necessarily think so. However, would a retest of this zone not be a beautiful 618, 786 golden pocket Fibonacci retracement? I think it would. From that shoulder, coming back down the retest and neckline, oh, that would look sweet to me. Coming back down to 27, that's another 10% drop. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but that would be not only a beautiful retest of the neckline, but a golden pocket retrace for further price action to the upside. And that is where I believe you would crack your 200 MA. And you do that, I think the next move, right, the next higher high you make for VeChain is going to be a big one. Why? Because look at this space, look at this space, brother. Look at this giant gap in the VRVP. That's a move up to 45 cents or 4.5 cents. That is a monster, If you got into this trade and you rode this up to, 4.5 cents, that's a 62% mover on spot. That's without leverage, everyone. I think this thing can do some massive damage from a charting perspective. Not super well versed on what the project is or the fundamentals or anything. And obviously partnerships, tweets, liquidity issues can take any kind of trading setup and just throw them into the rinse. Like right here, strategic reserve announcement, Chinese tariffs. Like you just every chart has this, and why? Not because the charts are calling for it, but because it was a news-driven catalyst, right? So inverted shoulder, head right shoulder. I'm looking for a retest of the neckline from a leverage perspective. Now, the same thing goes. If you're looking to get in the spot and you're not in spot already, like if you were following this channel, right? If you're following this channel, we gave the hottest entries in that zone, in that box of remembrance that we had sitting beneath the daily 200 SMA for the total 3. However, there's going to be a point at which this altcoin run doesn't move back, and there are going to be the market makers know everybody's waiting for that 618, right? So are they going to get it, or are we going to get that move to the? It's interesting. It's interesting. I see that as a likely zone for a bounce, and I see that as a great zone to take a hot long, in my opinion, in the event that you were presented that opportunity here in the market. Let's see what we're looking at on the smaller time frames. Kind of rolling here, kind of rolling a little, M shape, but everything's showing that M shape pattern right now. And that's why I'm saying right now to kind of pump the brakes a little bit on trading, and let's wait for this data that we have coming on in tomorrow morning, because tomorrow morning is going to look like every chart, VeChain, Bitcoin, the dollar, it's going to look like this. It's going to look like this. It could be the inverse. It could be the inverse. Who knows? But it's going to look like that. They're going to take out all the liquidity, baby. They're going to take out all the liquidity before the market chooses a direction. Happens every news-driven catalyst. All right, ISO coin, MH. A lot of people are into the ISO narrative. Chainlink, XRP, XLM, HBAR, VeChain, right? In the event that it does match those standards, what you need for government adoption, right, is to abide by the standards that the government put in place. And in the United States, anyway, or for global transactions, that's ISO 20, or it's like 222 or 2022, right? So if you do, right, like comply, and the government, that gives you a much faster ETF filing, I'll tell you that. And then it also gives you, the ability to make partnerships with the government without going through that regulatory process that's going to need to happen for other assets anyway. It gives you, I guess, a little leg up. It gives you 100 feet in front of the start line for the race of altcoin season, right? So that's interesting, man. Yeah, but, we're talking about ISO 2022, VeChain's sitting where it is, like comparatively to where it's been. It's kind of crazy. Like you're sitting at the, does this thing revisit the highs? You would, yeah. I don't know. You straight at 28 cents. You'd look at a 10x multiple from there. I don't know if a lot of these coins in the market are going to make it, everybody. I'm going to say that. I'm not saying these coins, but I'm saying a lot of the altcoins. I think there's going to be very select altcoin winners this cycle. Just my opinion. All right. Can VeChain be one of those winners? Sure. Yeah, I want to see us get above that daily 200 SMA to begin. And from a leverage perspective, man, that inverted shoulder head and right shoulder looks real sweet to me. Coming back to that 618786 golden pocket. That's all I'm saying, baby. Not financial advice. But if I was looking to get along on this project, I would be looking at this like a rabid raccoon. I would be looking at this like April looks at me when I'm squatting in the gym, baby. When I'm in those juicy booty shorts, right? And they're up, right? You know, you can't squat too low because one of your nads falls out. But man, you know, foaming at the mouth, can't stop staring. You know what I mean? Got that swirl in your eye like hypnosis. Sometimes she gets staring at me in the gym like that, man. And I can't blame her, you know what I mean? I know I don't stand up often on this channel, but I'm kind of caked up, you know? It is what it is. All right, so here we go. It's a nasty kid knows. How it is, right? But yeah, hey, coming back down, likely to test that inverted shoulder head, right shoulder, baby, into that 618786 golden pocket Fibonacci retracement for VeChain before going for higher prices. I would love that for an entry, man. I'd love that for an entry. That 200 MA being that wall that I say, hey, when we crack it, there's oftentimes we don't look back. Look what happened the last time you cracked the 200 MA for VeChain. You had a little struggle when you got up near it. Does it not mimic this price action right here? You get above and you don't look back. So can VeChain have a similar move? Absolutely. Altcoin season goes on a run. This thing can do some massive damage, everybody. Gaps in the VRVP to support it. Just sitting beneath the daily 200 SMA. Much love to you, Andrew Grisson. Thank you for hopping on into the chat, man. Much love, much love. Hey, for those of you guys who haven't hit the like button, take a minute to do that for your friend Boys Crypto. If you don't mind, I appreciate it, everybody. I appreciate the support on the channel. You guys are absolutely awesome helping me get this out here to a broader audience. That like button does it, baby. That like button does it. All right, here we go. A shout out to Wanda for the life-saving cough drops. Thank you, Wanda. Thank you. I appreciate you. Long on XRP. VeChain looks hot. The ISO 2022 coins looking juicy, baby. Looking juicy just on the hour. What is this? Oh, 600? I was like, good night. Last hour, we've had some struggles through the alts. A lot of them pulling back about 1%. Pi Network continues to struggle on the day. Man, this thing just started rolling over. That's absolutely wild. The biggest red bubble on the day. The Hex system, the EOS system, right? Like, and these were what? These were the biggest green bubbles yesterday. EOS, Hex. I think Pi was one of the bigger ones this week, right? 54% to the upside, dwarfing a lot of the other ones with the exception of WIF. WIF going on a monumental tear. So the meme coins are hot. I think it's time that they pump the brakes and at least consolidate a little bit. And we'll see how the data comes in tomorrow, everybody. That's where I'm going to leave you guys tonight in the charts. A lot of it's going to depend on tomorrow, everybody. I'm telling you guys, set your alarm at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll bring you guys updates. I'll let you guys know. I'll post a chart on Bitcoin where I think the liquidity is likely to get grabbed before we start moving further to the upside. I'll be up throughout, I'll be up early in the morning around I usually get up at 5:30 a.m. Or no, earlier than that. I usually get up about 4:30 a.m. Central Time. So, hey, I reached this invitation out to everybody over here on X, man. You guys shoot some messages to me. Anything that you guys want to talk about trading related, shoot me a message and I'll give you another set of eyes on your trade if you guys want that. If not, that's totally cool. But I reached that invitation out to each and every single one of you guys watching the show tonight. Nasty Kid wants to look at Kaito. All right, that's gonna be the last one that we hop on into before I head out tonight, everybody. Kaito, man, looking good, looking juicy. Kaito, looking for continuation to the upside. Didn't even touch the support band again and never came below the 30-minute 200 SMA. Hardly got below the 15-minute 200 SMA and looking for a breakout here, in my opinion. I don't even think you retraced the 618, did you? You did almost. Look at that, man. I can't stress this enough. If you guys don't know how to use your Fibonacci tool, right? Essentially, you're in a series of sets of higher highs and higher lows. I'm not saying every time, because it doesn't happen every time. But there's a great chance, like this area, right? Whenever you go from the swing low to the swing high, this area in here, right, is such a juicy zone to start getting in the trades. And the 618 gets front run a lot, right? If you're a little more aggressive trader, you can take that trade. But man, for catching bottoms, the fibs, man, so important to learn. Looking for continuation to the upside, the 15-minute and 200 getting very, very tight here. Looking to alligator mouth to the upside the last time you did that. Look at these alligator mouths. You get the cross. You get that golden cross, the 21 crossing the 200. That's my definition of the golden cross, the 21 crossing the 200. A little different in the traditional markets, but the crypto markets are a lot more volatile, so you got to adjust your indicators accordingly. When you get these crosses, man, big moves for Kaito, big moves. I see another big move coming for Kaito, looking like one of the stronger coins in the game tonight. Looks hot, man. It looks hot. It looks very hot to me. And you could even say you're in this parallel channel. You could be in this parallel channel and we could ping bong around in here. Bing bong, right? And then you could go up further for higher prices or break below, retest the neckline and look for lower. That's what I'd be tracking on Kaito as we go throughout the night. And, you know, it's crazy because this thing doesn't really seem as ping the Bitcoin as it is everything else is. And it's low enough market cap to do that, right? Not everything's going to be pinned to Bitcoin, but a lot of, like, okay, everything's red right now, right? But if I go into this, you know, the 800 to 1,000, look, just in the last day, you have things up 178, 54%, some things down 35%. It's insane. It's insane, right? So some of the lower cap coins, right, like Kaito, can do some massive, massive damage despite Bitcoin's price action. And this thing, the internet of money, baby, I like the narrative. I think that thing's going to do some massive damage, especially as altcoin season takes off. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin dominance continues to roll over, baby. Which, it, you know, today it showed some massive strength. You got above the 15-minute 200 MA, looking to gap up. I still believe, look at this, we're getting close. I still think this is going to be a lower high for Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance up here, next likely lower high, capitulate to the downside, and that lower high may come in tomorrow when we're getting the news. Is that indicating, like, hey, is this going to be the zone where it drops, right? The area where statistically price likes to revert to before dropping further to the downside? That would coincide with where? Around yeah, punching up into this zone, the 786 maybe, around 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Maybe something is brewing there for Bitcoin dominance, something that we're going to track throughout the night. All right, everybody. Yeah, Bitcoin dominance looks juicy, right? For another drop to the downside. Kaito looks good. Sui continues to go sideways, ranging. I know a lot of people are shoulder, head, right shoulder. Look at the shoulder, head, right shoulder on the 8 hour. I still see this as a range, baby. We are tickling on the bottom of the range. I acknowledge that, but stochastics are pinned on a lot of the higher time frames. I'm holding this trade open on the 12 hour. It's looking okay. It's looking okay. Like, I still see this as just a giant range that we're kind of going to be bing-bonging around in for a little bit. We are beneath the point of control, and the risk to the downside is relatively high, but you got the 12 hour 21 moving up as the stochastics are starting to reset. Looks pretty juicy to me. I'm going to be holding that trade open, but we'll see how it goes throughout the night. I'll keep you guys updated on X in the event that I do close any kind of any trade, or I do reposition myself in any way, shape, form, or fashion, everybody. Much love to each and every single one of you. Thanks for tuning on in with me tonight. I will see you guys tomorrow night on the live. Much love. Until then, I'll see you then. Keep 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on your calendar, on your alarm. Make sure you're watching price action at that time. Don't FOMO or anything, but a great observation, right? A great observation period to understand how price action does react during these news-driven catalysts. Much love, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, Boys Crypto is out, baby. We are out of here. Much love. Thanks for hanging out with me on your Wednesday night. I'll see you guys